found out about this, but one of our clients is Ripple, and they are a water-soluble THC cannabis product that you can mix into basically anything without smell or taste. So it's actually perfect for cooking with. So we actually have a couple samples in front of you with some information. There's 2 different strengths. There's a 5 milligram THC and CBD blend, and then there's a 10 milligram THC straight. So you should have 2 of each of those mixed in there. And again, you can mix it in with like baking, liquid, whatever, and you won't taste or smell it. So we wanted you to try it out and see what you think. And Meg will talk a little bit about what we're doing with Big E.
Yeah, so we'll be at the Big E, but as part of that, we'd really love for you guys to experiment using Ripple when you're cooking and come up with some recipes and submit them to us, and we'll be then featuring the top recipes at the Big E and passing them out to people. So definitely feel free to experiment with the product. Let us know your thoughts and how you like cooking with Ripple.
And our business cards are in there if you do come up with a good recipe. Ripple's available across the state and like basically every dispensaries in every city. So you can find that on the website if you're interested in getting more. You can also get in touch with us and we can give you some more. But yeah, we're really curious to see what you guys think about it. So let us know.
All right, thanks. If you do participate in that and you bring the sample back for your chef to mess around with, and they do come up with a recipe, just make sure Katie's on that email as well so she can keep track of who's participating in this with Big E.
And we have more bags, so if anybody didn't get one or if you want to grab a couple because you want to share with a few chefs, just grab us and we'll get you some extra samples too.
Is it temperature sensitive? Like if you boil it, is it going to affect it at all? Or is it...
You know,
so they actually have a tea product too, which is kind of powered by Ripple, so you can put it into very hot water. Yeah, and you can bake with it or even just sprinkle it on top of food because it just dissolves into cold and hot products. Yeah.
All right, cool.
thanks.
All right, so today's topic is Cannabis Kitchen. We're going to be looking at the intersection between the legalized cannabis world and the culinary world because they're starting to mingle. For our panel today, we have a couple people in the field. We have Hosea Rosenberg over here. Hosea, come on up. He owns Black Belly in Boulder. He had a food truck before that. Everyone recognizes him probably from season 5 Top Chef. Wherever you like. With him is going to be Kendall. Kendall Norris is with Mason Jar Events. So she works a lot with these chefs on hot paired events. So she is the premier expert on this. We have some legal representation. We have Tom Downey here. Tom Downey used to lead up Denver's Department of Excise and Licensing. So he has his hands deep in this issue. He is now with Ireland, Stapleton, Fryer, and Pasco as a director, and he is probably one of the premier experts on regulatory law in Denver. And a colleague of his, John Jennings, is an associate at the same law firm. He was also previously with Licensing and Excise, and he was the hearings manager for them. He is now a regulatory attorney as well. And then leading this panel, and we say leading because we want everyone to participate. We've had some really cool meetings in the past where you guys just jump in with whatever's on your mind. This is one of those meetings, so don't wait to the end to get involved. If anything comes across your mind, you want to change the direction of where we're going, just jump right in. This is Kevin Grossi. Everyone knows him from Lola, and now he started the regional up. He is a phenomenal chef. He's done a pairing or two with Kendall, I think, right? And we'll leave it to him.
All right, thanks, Paul. Thanks everyone for coming today, and welcome to Cannabis Kitchen. Our discussion regarding the colliding worlds of the culinary industry as well as the cannabis. Great panel here. Definitely want to dive into these questions. I was going to start off with Kendall, being that we work these events together, and they're very eye-opening when you're in them. Really pleasant to be part of, actually. Really sophisticated feeling to it. Just want to go right into Mason Jar and where the idea came from and just the story behind it all.
Sure. I always get nervous when I just start. So actually, I had a dream. I literally fell asleep. I woke up. I looked at my husband and I said, "I'm going to start this company. It's going to be called Mason Jar Event Group, and we're going to do these weed pairings. We're going to do it just like wine pairings. We're going to bring in all these great chefs. Oh my God, I know a great chef. I'm going to go to Hosea first." And we're going to see if we can get these off the ground. And just things sort of aligned at that point. I met a few great influential folks in the industry that really helped me build relationships. And, you know, this industry, just like any other, is built on relationships. So I had a pretty good foundation, and also had a great chef to start this concept with. Here we are, sort of 2.5 years later.
So you guys teamed up. We said six events together to start off. So when you approached Hosea as your first chef to do this, what was the conversation? What was it? What was like? What? This is these dinners I'm putting on. Like, how did that go about?
I was like, so Hosea, what do you think about maybe doing this weed thing with me? And he was like, yeah, cool.
I was all about it. I mean, I've been, pro legalization for a long time. And this is something that I've been starting to read about and think about, and it just seems like the obvious kind of evolution of this in this state now that it's legal. So for me, I was psyched because we've known each other for years. She's a friend, and I thought, if you want to do the legwork for this, the only thing I was worried about as a restaurant owner with a liquor license, my name was, what are the legalities of something like this? But the way she put it together sounded perfect, because it was like wine pairing, where she'll make sure the cannabis shows up and somebody else handles it, somebody else distributes it. I'm basically treating it like a catering. We show up with food, but we met with the growers that she I think with the first one and onward, she would bring people to me, and we would talk about it. So we talked about the strains they want to provide, what the flavor profiles are, what the effects are, all that stuff. So I approached it just like I would a wine pairing, where we decided what order to do everything in, what the flavors and the aromas and the effects would be, and try to write a menu around those things. And it went really well, so we
And the
decided to do it
season
again.
too, we really try to highlight the season. So what we're loving lately, what's in season, what's close. Hosea's got some great relationships with the farms out in our area in Boulder, where we were doing a lot of these events initially. And so, really being able to bring in quality produce and food that we knew was coming from right down the street was important as well.
So when you have the at those events, so 5 courses roughly, or
Give or take, depending on the event. But,
okay.
yeah.
And was there the bud tender was there as well? So we're going to the pairings. You send the menu over to Kendall, and we're like, hey, whatever. I don't know if you have some examples of the food you actually ran.
I have some menus too of past things that we've done if people want to kind of take a look at them and just see. It's a little bit easier if you have a visual, I think.
Finding it interesting, so I don't know if you just remember a dish and Kendall just remember the pairing. How did you go about that? Like, what are you looking for in the pairings when you're doing this? So you're 5 course, obviously there's some smaller plates, maybe a salad, maybe a soup. You just want to go into that a little bit more about how you saw those pairings work together?
Well, like I said, it started with the bud tender or the dispensary, whoever she was working with. And for me, it always helps to get some tasting notes. A lot of these people that are really into this business have, a lot of descriptions. There's lemon balm and the scent of pine needles and all this stuff. It's very similar to what wine geeks do. So I would start with that and try to, course out a menu that went from light to heavy. But I would always joke at these dinners that by the end of it, nobody really remembers what we're saying. It's just, as long as you're serving really good food and a lot of dessert, it works pretty well. But matching, there's a lot of strains that have citrus notes. So we do lighter, fresh things, ceviches or bright salad with goat cheese, something like that, to kind of pair with these citrusy, piney type terpenes, which are the compound that creates the smells and the flavor compounds. So you work a lot with the terpenes kind of to define what these flavors are going to be like. And then you just get heavier and heavier as you go on, but then also what we did together often was start with the sativa strains and then go into the indica strains, so you're a little bit more lively at the beginning of the dinner. At the end, you're getting that heavy.
Mellowed out by the time.
You're just drowning in chocolate syrup and you're done at the dinner. Yeah.
So Jose, you've done besides working with Mason Jar, you've done a couple other on the side, as well as work with an edible company. You want to dive into those a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. We did a really fun event on 420 that was sort of put together pretty pretty last minute, so I wasn't sure if that was a good idea or not, but it was with Star Chefs, which is a national organization. They were here doing their first set of awards for the Denver region, and they wanted to do this EatDenver. So we did it at Kamal, the incubator space in Taxi, and Kelly Whitaker kind of helped put the chefs together. So it's myself, Kelly, Alex Seidel, the Fortuna Chocolate people, and this guy Dookie Hong from San Francisco. By the way, best fried chicken I'll probably ever eat in my life. But it was really fun because that was the first time I'd done a collaboration dinner, which to me was really cool. Up until then, it had just been, Kendall and I trying to figure it all out. But having other chefs doing their interpretation of it was really cool.
Right.
So that's been a lot of fun. And then I was approached recently by a company out of Steamboat. So we're starting to work on ultra high-end edible products. So we're working with single source organic chocolate, this wildflower honey that's from the Yampa Valley. We're working on dry applications, so spice rubs and salts and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of, sky's the limit really with it. Now that these extraction techniques are so good, as Ripple said, there's flavorless and odorless. At that point, you can pretty much put it into anything.
So is there, I remember one event that we did a release party, the Undo, which was they were focused on separating THC with the CBD. When you do those products, are they all focused on the THC, everything more of the high part, I guess, of marijuana, or is it more?
We've done some together where they're putting out coffee or tea that is strictly CBD, or some that are mixes.
There's like a great local holder company, Steve Hughes, which we use often, that is infusing CBD in coffee. And so that's, as long as it's less than 3% of that CBD compound and 0% THC, then that's legal according to the powers that be.
Speaking of legal, what were your first legal roadblocks to setting up an event like this? Was it venue spaces? Was it the state, the regulatory system?
It's really, it's sort of everything. You have to sort of think of everything. Because it is a consumption event. You are responsible for these people. Initially it was finding venues that would work with me. Since then I've had venues come, they've read about us, they know that we are, sort of running this really sophisticated event and, think it would be cool to have this event at their property. But initially, it was me having to go out and really make connections with these venue owners. And actually, the first event that we did was at a place called Shoot Homestead. And I went out and I met with this woman. She's in her early 60s. I'd said, I just want to make sure, this will be a cannabis consumption event. Is that okay with you? Sure, no problem. So the night that we show up and we're setting up, this woman looks at me and she goes, so I just have something I have to tell you. And I was like, oh God, what is this? And she's like, when we initially spoke, I had no idea what a cannabis was. And I was like, shocked. She's like, it's okay. She's like, my kids are so proud of me. So, it ended up being a good introduction for her to the cannabis space. And I think that these events have been that for a lot of people in different ways.
Can you guys maybe go through the mechanics a little bit more, I think, to this point about legality, by mechanics, logistics, whatever you want to call it, like, you're not cooking with pot, from my understanding, right?
And you can't distribute, so you can't have anyone show up with their product and then distribute it either.
Sell. They can't sell it.
They can't distribute it. They can't even show up and say, and give it away. If they have their own license, they shouldn't do that. So we have found a formula that works for us, and without sort of giving away our intellectual property, there is a way to do it, and private events and private property is really where to start.
And that's a perfect time for you guys to jump in on that too, as well. Just what are they putting on an event? Like, what is the procedure we need to follow to make this all legal and move forward?
Sure. Well, first, thank you for letting us come. Appreciate the intro. One of the things you missed is that I am John Morgano's stalker. He's got a restraining order against me, and I've been doing it for 2 decades now. It works. This is also fun for us. I've been a regulatory attorney for 25 years, and my wife used to tell me, don't talk at parties. What you do is boring. Regulatory, licensing work, until marijuana. Now, people want to talk about it, and I'm allowed to open my mouth, and she doesn't say, shut up, you're boring. You're going to make me look uncool and hey, I'm hip. So this is fun. We appreciate this coming. And then there's also a second component of it, not just personal, but the normalization of the industry. This is part of it. It is now, they have in-house compliance folks and 401k plans and all of this. It's the stuff that we do. Our firm is 90 years old, stodgy, but it is now getting into the things with intellectual property and real estate and the operating agreements, the corporate things, employment issues. It's the normalization of the industry. That's why something like this gathering is exciting for us. The first thing that we have to tell you, I've got to sound like the heavy, don't let me scare you because we'll get to the good news. But the first thing to understand is this is federally illegal. Marijuana is a Schedule I narcotic under the Controlled Substances Act of 1970. That means in the eyes of the federal government, not popular opinion today, but in the eyes of the federal government, marijuana is highly addictive and has no medicinal value. Schedule I is the same place as heroin. Schedule II is where cocaine hangs out, just to put it in perspective. Because it is a Schedule I narcotic, that means it is illegal to grow it, to possess it, to sell it, to cross state lines, to give it away, to put it on a table and make art drawings on it. It is illegal to put it in a white bag and walk into the Vine Street pub and put it on a table in front of people. It is all illegal. You cannot throw it up in the air. You can't do anything with it. Anything with it is illegal. If you do one of those things, then you are subject to federal prosecution criminally, including being subject to seizure, you or your entity, and anyone who is around it doing things tangential to it is vulnerable to being prosecuted for aiding and abetting the execution of a federal crime. When I was running the license department, I had to get a legal opinion from the city attorney. Would I be aiding and abetting the execution of a federal crime by signing marijuana licenses? They couldn't get a license in Denver without my signature on it. And the answer was, of course! And you will. Well, you know what? Every single day, Home Depot aids and abets when they unknowingly sell extension cords and fertilizer to grow facilities. Accountants, landlords, Xcel Energy knowingly sells electricity every single day. Everyone who is in and around this, including, as we say, the Internal Revenue Service of the federal government that collects the taxes, is aiding and abetting. Everyone, the legal line never ends. The enforcement line is drawn wherever the enforcer chooses to draw it. So that's the most important thing. Where are the enforcers choosing to draw it? The federal government, since 2009, has followed a policy of non-enforcement. They have said, in short, there's a lot of memos that say complicated things, but in short, as long as you are in compliance with state marijuana law, we, the federal government, are not going to enforce federal marijuana law. It's policy, it's not law, right? If you were to ask me, hey, Tom, can I drive 58 miles an hour on I-25? I heard, there's no enforcement 5 miles over and less. And I will say, no, the law is 55 if you're in front of Mile High. But I don't care. The law is the law. The second question is, well, am I ever going to get caught? Of course not. They will never give you a ticket for driving 58 on I-25. It's just not going to happen. Real quickly, the Trump administration, that's the big question. Are they going to shut this down? And there have and will be battles internally about what they're going to do. You've heard from some, including Attorney General Jeff Sessions, that they don't like this and they want to shut it down. There will at some point be an argument. It will not be in the public venue, but on one side, the social conservative, anti-marijuana Jeff Sessions crowd, and on the other side, the libertarian, states' rights, pro-jobs group that includes the Trump children. From everything we have heard, including from clients who worked with the Trump children, that's the side that's going to win, and there's going to be no change. There will be, at some point, is our understanding, another memo that outlines it. It will have harsh language about marijuana, but the effect will be the same. As long as you are in compliance with state marijuana law, the federal government will not enforce federal marijuana law. Is there any question about